Eli. I haven't had a chance to
Yeah.
to ask Eli to help with those sorts of technical issues.
I just
And I
got
think we're coming on live now, so I'll mute
gonna say,
myself.
I think I just got a message that says we are on audio. Eli, I'm getting, oh, I'm getting yes that we're on audio but not video.
Yeah, the audio streaming is a separate service. The audio streaming is the regular audio streaming that we always used to have in the rooms themselves that the mics are connected to. So I suspect the audio is probably fine, and it's just trying to get the YouTube up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Senator, again, my apologies. I have confirmed we are live on YouTube as of now. It certainly does take a village behind the scenes. My apologies again. We are good to go.
Thank you very much, Eli. I appreciate that. And sorry, folks, for any delay. I'm not sure. Some of you have seen, some of you have heard. In any case, I think you know our committee at this point well enough, so I'm not going to do reintroduce everyone, but just to move us along today, what I'm hoping to do is start where we left off. And essentially what we did was talked about, there are places we've got agreements between the different stakeholders, and there are places where we were somewhat apart. There's been a lot of communications with folks over the last 24 to 36 hours. And so I think what we'd like to do is kind of move forward from where we left off. I see a couple of I can't tell if people are with me or not. So before I do, I'm just going to check in with committee members to be sure. Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know that we're working along the premise of 7 items with some agreement, and perhaps 4 other items, sections with no agreement. But we've never had a straw poll on that. That was just brought forward as we agree on 7 items, but I'm not sure that I've weighed in on what I agree on or not. So I just throw that out there moving forward. Let's not take that for granted.
Yeah, I'm not implying that we as a committee, we have the stakeholders. We've had some, what the sponsor brought in a bill, and we know, like all bills, is opposition. And I think that the opposition, there's so much conversation has taken place between those two groups that they've reduced the number of items that they're opposed with one another on. So
thank you. And I was probably the only one who misunderstood that and thought maybe that there was the committee, but thanks for clarifying that. And
I'm happy to do so, because sometimes my brain and my mouth don't connect real well. So, but in any case, so given that, I know that Representative Brennan has been in communications with some folks relative to those areas. That's where I'd like to pick us up from. So I'm going to ask him to kind of, hold on, Eli, might have, are we still good, Eli, or?
Nothing technical. Would you like me to bring the sponsors in at this time, or do you want to hold off on that for now?
My impression was that President Jackson was not here, or not available. So it is, I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Yes, we do have two sponsors, as I recall, correct? Yes. Thank you. I'm losing it. Oh. Is it President Jackson or is it Representative Osher?
We have both of them in the
Oh.
call, sir.
All right. Good morning to you both.
I believe President Jackson may have been indicating that he is here, but maybe not intending to speak at this time.
Yeah, that was my impression. So
Sorry, Senator Rafferty. I know it's a hectic morning. I've been jumping all around. The members of Labor Education Committee. Appreciate it. I think we did move a lot of things yesterday. I know Representative Brennan was contacting me until like 10 o'clock last night with discussions. So I think he has a lot of the background on it. So if you want to obviously move to Chair Brennan, I think he could probably better deliver it right now.
thank you. That was my intent. And good morning, Representative Osher. So Representative Brennan, see you moved in my screen. So.
Okay, all right. And so we're okay technically now. Everybody's on YouTube and okay, we're all set. So if I could, Ms. Risler, do you have that side-by-side that you sent out to the committee that had been prepared by the sexual assault? Could you bring that up for the committee? Share the screen.
Sure, yeah, this is the chart that was included in the testimony of Elizabeth Ward Saxel.
Correct. And that you sent, I think everybody in the committee got a copy of this?
Yeah, in an email I sent it as a link.
Right.
But everyone should have it.
Right. And when last we met at the end of the work session, I referenced this document and there are 11 points on the document and there were 7 issues where there were agreement and that there were 4 that there were quote opposition or outstanding. And I'm pleased to report that Senator Jackson and I have, I think, worked through all 4 of those issues and that we have something to propose that hopefully will garner the support of everybody on the committee. And so if I could just work through that fairly quickly, and then we could answer any questions. But let's not even go to the items that have already been resolved. But the very first item that there was concern about was section 12.952, adoption of policies. We have, with the help of Ms. Risler, we have come up with language that we think addresses in part the issues and concerns that people had here. There was a possibility of a parallel process being developed because of federal Title IX, and then what might be developed through this. And because of the language that she has suggested that Senator Jackson has agreed to, we think that this section can move forward. And that, again, it's not perfect. We'll continue to have to refine it and work on it. But we do think that it moves things in the right direction and addresses, at least in part, some of the concerns that people raised. The next item, which was, can you scroll down, Hillary?
Sure, how far?
To the next opposition. All right. So this was has been a major discussion about the confidential resource advisors and the role that they would play, the training they would have. It was an issue that I was concerned about. And what we've agreed to at this point, or are suggesting to the committee, that we develop a hybrid model, and that where the university, the community colleges have somebody that they believe is trained and can play that role, they can appoint them to play that role. And if not, they can contract with the Maine Coalition for Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, or any outside group that has similar training, expertise, and understanding of these issues to work both within the a college setting and within the community. And I think there was a recognition that obviously we wanted people who are well-trained, that understood trauma, understood assault, and understood the legal implications as well as the mental health implications. And I think we also wanted to make sure this was a strong point with Senator Jackson, was that he wanted to make sure there's a physical presence on every campus and community college that would be available to students. And the university and community colleges have agreed to make space available for this position. It was equally important for me to have connections within the community, because we have so many students in the state that do not live on campus, that are not on campus at all the time. And certainly the possibility that sexual assault could occur in a non-campus setting is probable and unfortunately likely. And so that we'd want to make sure that students have access to resources within the community as well. So I think this hybrid approach addresses that issue and gives flexibility to the university and community college to make sure that this function exists, working with partners within the community. So can we go to the next item? And the next item was the administrative penalty if they're in violation of the chapter, and the senator has agreed to drop this section. And can we go to the next one on rulemaking? And the senator has agreed to drop this section and replace it with language that would make the advisory commission that's established in this bill responsible directly to the Education Committee. So the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee will provide oversight to the advisory committee and oversight on this project. And that would require a report back to the committee in January of next year. And I would suspect that we would also have an in-person report back from the advisory committee as well. So from my perspective, given the issues that I raised at the last work session, I'm very pleased to say that Senator Jackson has shown himself to be unusually flexible and amenable to suggestions from other places. And my hope would be that we would garner, the full support of people on the committee and move this to the House and the Senate for approval. And I also just would say, finally, obviously everybody has said there's a lot of work, there are a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of interests that are involved. This is a work in progress. In the sense that we'll be paying attention to it next session and working to refine it and to make sure that we're continue to move in the right direction. But I think at this point, we've addressed some of the concerns the university has had, some of the concerns that community groups have had concerned, and at the same time, we've maintained the integrity of the initial proposal from the students and the bill that Senator Jackson put forward. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, Senator Rafferty, at this point.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Risler, please.
So I hope I can jump in quickly to make sure that I am clear on what is being proposed. On the
it's critically important that you understand what is
on
being
the adoption
proposed.
of policies. You referenced some language that I had come up with, but I don't think you actually said for the committee what that would be.
I would have to turn at this point to Carolyn Russo because I shared that with her, and she said that she and Senator Jackson did agree. But the specifics of what you proposed, because I know you had two different proposals, we would have to decide upon. We can do that before the end of the discussion.
Okay. And then I guess my other piece of clarification, and this doesn't need answers necessarily at this moment in the conversation, but before a vote, so that I'm clear on what exactly I need to draft wise, would be for you mentioned the advisory committee's oversight.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the rulemaking provision, was that intended to be sort of an unallocated language requiring the advisory committee to report back next session?
Yes.
That'd be a one-time. Okay.
Right.
And then the other thing that I'll touch on briefly that, again, this may be for more conversation, but there were also a couple of concerns raised over potential amendments on some of those other sections, especially the definition section and the definition of student. So that may be something I'll circle back with when the time is appropriate.
I think the intent was to include those changes to definitions and the addition of those definitions. Is that correct, Senator Jackson? Yep. Okay. So, Ms. Risler, was that, you understand everything else?
I think I mostly understand everything. I think when it gets time for a little bit digging further in depth, I think there are some drafting considerations that I'll want to raise briefly for clarity. And I think for the provision on the hybrid system with the confidential resource advisors, I think I understand what you need, but it may be helpful for me to go through what I understand to make sure that matches the intent. But again, I'm not sure whether that's something you want me to do at this time or you want me to wait until there's a little bit more discussion. I do see Representative Stearns, for example, has his hand up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, following up on what Hillary just said, not additional discussion, but at least some discussion. Most of this is brand new. And I see the sponsor laughing at that notion, but I'll tell you what, this is a complex piece of legislation. Regarding oversight from the advisory committee, you're suggesting that be plugged in to take the place of the Department of Education having decision-making capabilities in some of these cases, because is that what I'm hearing? Because in the original language, the Department of Education really would have had to establish an office to oversee these affairs on college campuses. Am I right?
If I could respond, Senator Rafferty.
Yes, thank you.
Clearly, Representative Stearns, that's not the intent. I mean, the committee's not in a position to oversee individual cases or take on that responsibility. The intent is to have the advisory commission each year, or at least next January, come to us and to report to us on the individual provisions of the bill and how things are progressing. And it would then be the role of the Education Committee to decide if we need to take corrective action or that we need to adjust legislation to address the issues.
Okay, so, I think I see that, but it was introduced as an alternative to the other piece. So the oversight piece is being dropped.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
President Jackson, followed by Representative Millett.
Thank you. I just want to respond, Representative Stearns. Representative Stearns, I was not laughing at you. I was laughing at your comment that you would like to have some discussion on it, which I agree.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to be very clear, the rulemaking that is being struck relates to the climate surveys, the collection of the surveys, and the administrative penalty. And because the administrative penalty is being dropped, that's no longer required. And in my opinion, by dropping this rulemaking, what we're saying is that we will entrust that this commission with the various experts will know how to implement the survey, and that we simply as a committee will be wanting to hear from them about how the process went, any issues that they faced, et cetera. That I believe is distinctly within our purview. And so I think that this is an appropriate approach to take. Thank you.
Thank you. I have, hands are up and down. They're all down now. Thank you, Representative Millett.
Yes.
Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm struggling through copious notes on this bill, but I seem to recall that there was a brief discussion about the fact that DOE does not normally oversee college administrative functions. And I can't find in my notes, perhaps Ms. Risler can help with that, but part of the reason for that, that discussion and decision. Thank you.
Yes, and I do, and she may correct me and probably will. I'll appreciate it if she does. I believe we're talking about, if you're looking at the president's amended bill, you'd be looking at item 12962, enforcement penalty appeal, and you would be looking at 12963, the rulemaking. That's where the department would have been involved more, and those both have been dropped. Any other questions, folks, at this time? Yes, Representative Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that similarly on page 9, there's a subsection 4 around rules as well, and that probably needs to be eliminated.
Yep.
Thank you. Hillary, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I had my head down.
Yeah, so since we're sort of talking about how the department is currently involved in the language, I just wanted to touch on a couple places to make sure that I'm clear and I understand to what extent we're removing this oversight responsibility. For example, the draft, and when I refer to the draft, I am referring to the amended draft, but it would still, for example, require that the Department of Education provide staffing assistance to the advisory commission.
Yes.
And then the department would also still have some responsibilities under the current draft in regards to the climate survey dissemination and data collection.
And again, Senator Rafferty, I can respond. Yes, that's correct. And this where I would just say also, Ms. Risler, we're going to have to show some flexibility moving forward, is that, again, with the VAWA legislation that's passed, that would be requiring that type of surveying by the state. The hope would be that we'd be able to merge those two efforts together in a way that would minimize cost.
Yes, Hillary.
The other place the department in the draft currently has some responsibilities is in terms of the memoranda of understanding. This draft provides that the department may waive the requirements of the memoranda of understanding. Was it the intent of this proposed amendment that oversight continue, or would that be stricken as well? That would remain.
That would remain.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, folks? Seeing none, I would be open to a motion.
Senator Rafferty,
Yes, sir.
I would move ought to pass on LD 1727. as extensively amended.
I would second that, Mr. Chair.
All right, have a motion. It's been seconded. I'm gonna have further discussion, please, and he disappeared. Oh, sorry. I saw Senator Woodson. I'm sorry. You've
No,
Well-
I'm bouncing around here in my head trying to figure out all that's been said. Is it appropriate to call on, I'm thinking of the Title IX coordinators, to ask a question on legal matters here? And I think it's like, there's been so many people testifying, but I think it's a person with the first name of Angela.
relative to Title IX issues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to open a can of worms here, but
Well-
I'm having trouble with this whole thing.
yeah, so do we, Eli, do you have, I'm trying to remember her name as well, sir, and I'm blanking.
Yes, so Title IX coordinators we have currently in the attendees list. We have Angela Schamberger, who is the Title IX for the Maine Independent Colleges. I believe we have Elizabeth True, who is the Title IX for Maine Maritime Academy. Amy Parker is Title IX for the UMS system. And I believe that might be it
I think
for
it
Title
was
IX
Amy-
coordinators specifically.
believe it was Amy Parker that we spoke with at the most recent meeting, but I would guess that they all understand the same thing. So let's bring her in if you would be kind enough to do so.
Sure.
While we're doing that, Representative Lyman, just because it might be a person that we're looking for, do you have a question as well?
I do, but I would be very interested in hearing first from who Senator Woodson invited in. And I'm also very interested in if Elizabeth True from Maine Maritime is available for her to be able to share as well some of her thoughts about what we've discussed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have questions though.
Sure. I think Ms. True and Ms. Parker play the same role at different schools. Ms. Parker, good morning.
Good morning.
Senator Woodson, and thank you for being here. First of all, my apologies. Thanks for being with us. We know that you've been listening throughout our work session, but Senator Woodson has a question that he's looking for clarification on, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. I'm concerned about the different legal aspects and enforcement and how this is going to flow, and what are some of the complications involved in this proposal. I just don't feel this is ready for prime time, but can you just share your thoughts on this?
So it's really difficult for me to say without seeing sort of what the final version is. I have to be honest, I'm probably a little confused as many of you are. I think for the most part, the resources, having as many resources as we can is helpful. And I think we still have some concern about how this intersect with our role as Title IX coordinators. And I know this is not tremendously helpful to you because we don't know how this plays out. I know it has been difficult in some other states to sort of reconcile the two pieces of legislation, and I mean Title IX and then the state law. So at this time, there's not a lot of experience from the other states in this space. And so I don't have a lot to draw from based on what others' experience has been. I know that the concern was so great in many states that they did not pass pieces of the legislation for that reason. And so that gives me pause as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps Representative Lyman has got some issues that may help me better understand what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to just put a pause here for a moment. Eli, I got a message, and this is a technical piece, that the YouTube is only showing the person that's speaking. It's not showing the full view of the gallery. I don't know if
Yep.
that's.
I am currently working on that. My apologies. I'm trying to, we've had some unforeseen technical issues this morning.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Sorry about that, Representative Lyman. I know you had a question, and did you want to ask that of Ms. Parker, or did you want to?
Yeah, I would be interested in hearing from, well, Elizabeth True, if she's available, but, you know, in response to Senator Woodsum's question, as well as anything that she would offer in the discussion that we've had about some of the changes being made to this bill. And then I have further to address if possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is Ms. True? Can we bring her in, please? Good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm happy to be here. And I really want to acknowledge all the tremendous amount of work that's been done. I too, like my colleague, Ms. Parker, want to be sure to see the language. We've had a number of small technical changes that we're not sure were incorporated, but I do really appreciate the movement forward. I did speak with Representative Lyman previously about my concerns, particularly about the confidential resource advisor, and that in particular, my concerns that we've talked about, that it could actually open up a possibility that of what we call appeals to the process. So if a survivor wished to go through our judicial system, it is so complicated that we don't want to have an honor board come up with a finding and find a perpetrator responsible and then have to overturn it because of a technical appeal, because we're trying to juggle 3 different policies. So that was a big concern. But more importantly, I'm already doing that. And I did want to say, and what I said I'm already providing the functions. We want to be really clear. At MMA, and we published on our website, I had 3 reports of sexual assaults in the last calendar year. None of the 3 wanted to make a formal complaint or go through the judicial process, and they all received supportive services. So we are able to provide that, despite what some of the folks said, that is what we're able to do here. So I think that was a key point that Representative Lyman wanted to mention. Is there anything else I missed from our conversation?
Representative Lyman?
Sorry, trying to get to my mic and it wouldn't let me. No, I found the conversation very informative about what Elizabeth True shared about what the university is already doing. And I guess, Mr. Chair, that leads me into feeling like I need to say something, and I'm going to hope that you guys will bear with me for a minute and be respectful of the position that I'm going to take, because you guys know, you haven't heard it the first time, this is very new for me. And I think this so applies to the work that we're doing today, because for 15 months, I've been reporting pretty regularly to the Capitol to do my committee work. And in this Zoom structure, I find that I don't get to converse with people. I mean, I get to with our faces on the computer, but the people that are here to testify, to talk to us, unless they reach out or I know who to reach out to, I don't get to dig into information and get what I need to make informed decisions. And it so applies to me right now for this bill. If I come out a no when we're all done, I want it to so be clear that this has nothing to do with where I stand with my concerns about these violations and support for the victims. Oh my goodness, I think all of us, that's huge. It's going to come out because I'm concerned that we have not dug into the conversation and the in-depth breadth of people we need to hear from. And just because I spoke something on Wednesday, and quite frankly, I was nervous and I couldn't even tell you everything I said, but I've had a whole lot of people reach out to me, which have raised for me more questions. So at this point, the needs I still have is more specific information about the education that is presently going on campuses in regards to this bill. I also need further explanation of how the existing positions through, and I may have this wrong, human resources and health do not address, or are they capable of addressing the goals and actions that this bill supports. I'm very concerned and need a whole lot more understanding on the confidential resource advisor, because it's been planted in different testimony of unintended consequences. And for me, it brings up that I think there's some legal, the criminal conversations which we've had, which have been a lot, and the legal language, for me, there's some, I think, some stuff that judiciary folks need to be addressing. And finally, for me, I need more time to discuss all the points of this bill. Representative Brennan mentioned the 11 points, and as Representative Stern said, I don't think we've really delved into that as a full committee. And then because of what was presented this morning, I have questions about the role of the Department of Education and going on the levels. And I don't mean to dump, I'm just expressing to you, if I'm falling in that no area, that's exactly why. It's not about, believing that this work is important. It absolutely is, but I think there's still a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I think that, you're honest in terms of your thoughts and concerns. That's quite clear. I know that it has been confusing. We've heard from a lot of people, and for us to understand, we've asked, and we have had input from some of the legal folks. And I think that depending upon anyone that's testifying, oftentimes we can hear both sides. I know particularly, my mindset in terms of the legal piece is which side are they representing, because you're going to get oftentimes conflicting views, and that's unfortunate. But what I did hear just even momentarily is that when there was a question put to Ms. True relative to the CRAs, her first part of her response was this could, and that's not a definitive answer in my mind. So, relative to that CRA piece for me is huge personally, because last night I spent much time going back and rereading testimony, and we have some, and I would suggest if you want to read some testimony, read the first 2 or 3, probably the third piece of testimony on our website, kind of put me in a place where CRAs, I've looked at this committee, and for the last 2 years, what we've tried to do is eliminate roadblocks moving forward in education. We've tried to provide as much opportunity and an equal level of from legislative or whatever we can do, whether it was a human being or not. Our sensitivity was to try to do the best we could in terms of education. And this CRA, in my mind, all it doesn't implant an additional conflict. What it does is it presents another resource So we're providing another resource to help those students that we're pledging the best, we want the best out of for every single student on an equal opportunity basis. So we're trying to provide a resource for that person in a situation where it's a crisis has taken place in their life. So we're trying to eliminate. Last week, we spent time talking about getting access to transcripts. When you look at an access to a transcript and you look at a potential sexual assault, they're on two different worlds, but we're trying to do the best we can to try to, eliminate. So at this point, in my mind, maybe it's the dad in me, but I'm looking at a person that's in crisis. If I have an opportunity to provide another resource, I'm going to do it. And if those resources can't get along, there got to be somebody in that charge of that campus that can. We're paying some people some pretty good money, and we're paying legal fees across the board. We have a sponsor that's been a victim here, and that they're coming at us and asking for our help. And I think that we've got to do all we can to provide that resource and what we feel collectively can move this forward and give and provide the best possible scenario, the safest environment for our students on every single campus.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty.
Thank you.
May I follow up?
Sure.
So I don't disagree with a whole lot that you said. I think the difference for you and for me is that I think there's a whole lot more conversation to be had about the confidential resource officer. And the testimony that we've heard shows that there's some very philosophical differences. And I'm just stating to you and this committee that I'm not in a position to make a well-informed, confident decision. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll try to get us in a place where we all can, hopefully, before we're done today. Thanks for that. Representative Millette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. President Lyman, I'm so sorry you feel that way in terms of how much of a struggle it's been and not having access to people for those conversations. I definitely feel like that there are things that we're missing by not being in person as a committee. But having said that, I have actually found that we've expanded our accessibility by doing our work this way. And that folks have reached out to me and asked for Zoom meetings to talk about various aspects, or have emailed me or called me. And it doesn't require them to be in our committee room or in the lobby or be as such be lobbyists. And I do feel that we have gained something as a result of this that I hope we don't lose, which is it has actually opened up another avenue for us to have conversations virtually with folks that may live in disparate parts of our state. So I actually kind of feel like we've gained something in that area, but I do hear what you're saying, and it is unfortunate. We've had this is our third work session on this bill, and that's a big amount. Not, as you now know, we don't often go that long into bills, and I think it's appropriate given the complexity of the policy work that we're trying to do here. But at some point, we do have to weigh in, and we're running out of time. What I would like to suggest is typically when folks in our caucus are struggling with something, we ask for a corner caucus in order to give folks some time to have some conversations and process. And I would support that if that's necessary today. But I do feel as if there's been 2 years worth of work by the stakeholders that we need to recognize. And that work has continued through the past number of months and weeks. And there has continued to be dialogue, and there continues to have been changes made. So I do feel like, at least I feel like I've had some opportunity to process everything, and I feel more comfortable than I did even yesterday. in being able to vote on it. But, perhaps a corner caucus would be of assistance, and would encourage you to think about that.
I have Representative Stearns. I'm sorry, Representative Lyman, your hand is up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just like to follow up and
Sure.
appreciate what Representative Millet said about, the opportunities of Zoom, and I absolutely agree. But I appreciate that you folks recognizing that some of us, very first endeavor into the political world was in a Zoom world. And I've absolutely missed out. Though I get emails and though I reach out by phone, it's not the same as being able to engage in conversations with people, or I'm assuming that, I haven't been here, with people that come in to testify, and the conversations that you have even with my own committee. We'll caucus as a group, but the other caucus has twice as many members. We don't have that opportunity to mingle with each other. So I'm going to continue to say that has been difficult for me. And that's one of the reasons I'm in a position that I still feel the need. Though people have worked on this for 2 years and the stakeholders have been very involved, I think that's awesome and I respect that work. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to take more time to hear from the breadth of people that are going to be impacted by this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Stearns, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And following up on Representative Lyman's concerns, I have the same concerns, and I have been here for 8 years and met in person and met via Zoom, and there is an enormous amount of material in this bill. I put forward a scenario for you to consider. Let's say that an individual is assaulted on campus, and we don't word this bill correctly, and a good defense attorney steps in and points out that constitutional flaws have taken place, or criminal statutory flaws have taken place, and that perpetrator skates, walks. I don't think we will have done a service to anybody at that point. And in that regard, I at some point this morning, Mr. Cohn has given us a lot of information, I think, regarding due process. I'd like to hear from him, if we could, on his thoughts of the conversation. But again, I know there's been a lot of work. I know other states have taken years to try to get to, at the legislative level, to try to get to what we've attempted to do here in a couple of weeks. So again, I'll leave it at that, and I'm hoping that at some point we could bring in Mr. Cohn to discuss specifically any due process pieces that he may see that we might want to reflect on. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Roach, followed by Representative Sampson, please.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. I haven't weighed in much lately, but one of the things that struck me in this is that the stakeholders had 2 years to look this over, and we're looking at 3 sessions, three work sessions to get it through. And I completely understand, but this is a complex issue, and rushing this along and not hearing from, about due process and things like this. Representative Stearns stole some of my thunder on that, and I really want to hear from that point of view. When you pass a bill that, our governor is a lawyer. She's former attorney. Is she going to look at this and say, boy, this doesn't really work legally, and things like this? And we're hearing a lot from outside our state stakeholders, and our in-state stakeholders we seem to not listen to as well. And those are the things I want to kind of hear from. And 3 years, 2 years of work, and then we're expected in about 7 hours to pass something. And I think this is an extensive bill and a very important one. But I think we just need, and you threw out some amendments today and then wanted to vote on it immediately. And I just think we need to look at it closer.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, Representative Roach, but I will respond a little bit with that. We've heard from a lot of stakeholders, but we continue to hear much of the same thing. So I think it's important. I think important to continue to dig should we have that desire to do so. Representative Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm kind of following along with what Representative Roach said. I do think this is the cart sort of before the horse. I think this isn't quite ready. And I guess, and I missed a couple of work sessions because my computer, I couldn't access emails or anything. So this may have been asked already. And I haven't heard all of the testimonies on following up on YouTube. So I apologize if this question's been asked, but the sponsor of this bill is the President of the Senate. This is a huge bill. And my question is, why did it come to us so late in the session?
My understanding is
I'm directing this question to the president of Troy Jackson, please. I'm just really curious why this took so long and why we're trying to now force something that I believe is clearly not ready for prime time. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're not trying to force it, but I do know that the delay has been the continued efforts on part of all the stakeholders. That's been the primary reason for any delay. Representative Brennan, you good? I saw your hand up.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. I was just going to respond exactly what you did, that we looked to schedule this at various times, Representative Sampson, and we were told that the sponsor as well as various interest groups were continuing to try to work to narrow the gap between what the disagreements were. And as you know, I mean, you've been in the legislature long enough to understand too, that oftentimes it comes the pressure of the public hearing and then the work sessions that people actually do come together and have some agreements. And clearly after the last work session, when it was articulated what some of those disagreements may have been, the opportunity to work on those became more possible. And so, yeah, it might have been better had we been able to start in February and continue to have the discussions. But I think it was a good faith effort on behalf of the sponsor to try to narrow the differences between various groups within the bill.
Well, I appreciate that answer. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I just feel that the folks that did come before us addressing Representative Lyman's positions, there wasn't a full-throated endorsement of this. And the community college and the university systems, I don't think they have a full-throated endorsement of this either. So I'm going to be hard to be convinced. Thank you.
Well, certainly there's been a lot of testimony. There's been a lot of things that started, that were added or deleted, and an effort on both sides of folks that's come to some type of agreement, which has not been uncommon in most any bill that we've heard. So we do have a motion that was seconded, and if you would like to, Hillary, I'm sorry, yeah, and then I'll come right back to yes, Hillary.
So I guess my question is, I think part of this motion included some particular language that perhaps Carolyn Russo has, but I still will need that information. And then there are a couple aspects, sort of drafting considerations that I originally raised in my bill analysis that I just want to make sure I have clarity on so that I can draft in accordance with the intent of the committee. I can get that clarification after the vote or before it at your preference.
And we could also, we will have a language review as well, correct?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, Senator Woodson followed by Representative Stearns.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to follow up on Representative Stern's request to hear from Mr. Cohen. And then I'd like to have a corner caucus.
Representative Stearns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to request a corner caucus as well. I was also going to revisit hearing from Mr. Cohen, which I requested earlier.
Yeah.
And lastly, we've had a motion and a second put forward on something that we have not read yet. And that concerns me.
Thank you. Representative Brennan?
Thank you, Senator Rafferty. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. And that's, I know there's been a request to have Mr. Cohen come in. I have read his emails. I don't find him to be a credible source, but I would not deny somebody on the committee the opportunity to say that they want to speak with somebody. But I just want to say I'm would want to limit his comments and limit his presentation to the committee because I question his credibility. So,
thank you. Ms. Risler? Oh, okay. So let's go to our caucus first. I have, I'm going to call it 12:20. In reality, it's 12:18. Do you want 15, 20 minutes or less? Does anyone throw a number at me? Otherwise, I'll pick one.
well,
20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that. So I have, so at 12:40, we will return. Reminder, folks, your microphones are important to shut down as well as your video. Thank you.
Amazing.
Jan, we're caucusing, corner caucuses.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm just out of labor. Thanks. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Did I miss a lunch break?
You caught me, I think. I was having a lunch break, to be honest with you, but 12:40, 12:53, whatever time we can get back.
I have not heard anything additional about a break, but I will remind folks who are still here, both on screen as well as waiting in the attendees list, we have remained live. My normal daily reminder to everyone.
Well aware and taken.
Stearns is joking around, but he's on mute. He doesn't know, so.
It appears most everyone is back. Senator Woodson, can you hear me, sir?
You can.
Thank you. Representative McCray? Okay, one. All right. Okay, so prior to our break to caucus, I know we went longer than anticipated, but we were doing trying to work out a lot of, just address people's different concerns and so forth, like all of us are doing, and doing as due diligence to this piece of legislation as best we can. So that said, prior to going into caucus, I think it was Representative Stearns had asked about having Mr. Cohn come in. Sir, are you still? Yes, thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this point, I'm not so sure that I would subject Mr. Cohn to appearing before this committee. And as far as my concerns about learning more about due process, I think I'll be able to address that in a different fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know Hillary, you wanted some language clarifications, so I think that what I'm going to ask is that if Representative Millet was going to volunteer to reiterate the motion and try to fill in some gaps for you, so. Representative Millet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, actually, I also wanted to just be clear about what the motion was. So I believe what I heard was it would be ought to pass as amended as the sponsor's amendment has been before us with the following amendments. Bear with me. Okay, so under definitions for student, we added on within the last 4 years. So student means an individual who is enrolled or is seeking to be enrolled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at the very end, it would say within the last 4 years. Under policies, there was the issue brought up around uniformity of application. And I believe that the proposal was to insert to uniformly to the extent practicable. And then I'm just kind of going through here. Under the waiver requirement, which is on page 15, section 12.961, subsection 3, waiver of requirements. I believe the motion is that the first sentence would be eliminated, which is the department may waive the requirements of the section because that implies the department oversight. So that would be removed, that first sentence. That the enforcement penalty appeal section 12962 is stricken, that the rulemaking 12963 is stricken, and oh gosh, there was one section as well around DOE oversight that I had brought to everyone's attention that I'm now on page 9 on subsection 4 rules, the commissioner shall adopt rules, etc. That too shall be stricken. I believe that that was the motion that was made, and I just want to make sure that that is clear for Ms. Risler and for myself. Thank you.
Representative Brennan. You're muted, sir.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty, and thank you, Representative Millet, for that summary, which I concur with. I just add two things very quickly. There will probably be some technical changes that we will have to consider in language review about dates and reporting and those type of things, and we'll try to work with the interested parties and universities to address those as best we can. And then there was a question on the adoption of policies 12.952, and Senator Jackson had agreed to amended language, and people want to know what that language was, and I can read it to you and obviously send it to people very quickly. But the language is simply the policy must provide, comma, that to the extent practical, comma, the procedure must be uniformly applied. And that will be added to that section in terms of the adoption of policies. And the intent of that is to try to address this issue that was raised about dual procedures and having policies and having Title IX potentially conflict with each other. And again, it's only one sentence, but hopefully it will attempt to address that issue.
Hillary,
So,
Thank you. I have two quick points. First, I believe what Representative Millet did not include, but that I had heard earlier in the motion, is regarding the confidential resource advisors, and that the suggestion in the amendment, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the amendment would provide that these confidential resource advisors could be contracted with from the outside organization, so long as they have the physical location on campus. Is that included in the motion?
Yep.
Okay. And then my second, I would just seek confirmation. I had raised some drafting concerns. I assume that the amendment would allow me to make any necessary technical changes as needed to conform with drafting standards. And then, as Representative Brennan mentioned, to the extent there's anything that I still need clarity from the committee on, I will try to put together a preliminary language review draft relatively quickly that I would bring back to the committee probably next week before we have the fiscal note necessarily, but to identify any outstanding technical issues that I have identified for which I cannot answer myself.
okay, thank you. Representative Salisbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, I just wanted to confirm, Representative Brennan, did you just say yes to the question raised about the CRAs or no?
No, I said, yeah, that's absolutely what I had proposed in the amendment, that
Okay.
we would adopt a hybrid approach, allowing for a contract for that services and capacity within the community with community-based organizations, or with an appropriate trained personnel within the University or Community College could be appointed for that function as well.
Okay, thank you. It sounded like you said no. I'm sorry, I am in my car, so I just wanted to confirm.
Okay, that said, then, so we do have the motion that we, and that was clarified, it was seconded. And I am ready to move the motion. Eli, sir, if you would be kind enough to call a roll.
Absolutely. On a motion of ought to pass as amended for LD 1727, Senator Rafferty.
Yes.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry. Senator Daughtry is absent. Senator Woodsum.
No.
Senator Woodsum votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Crockett. Representative Crockett is absent. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Millet.
Yes.
Representative Millet votes yes. Representative Roach.
No.
Representative Roach votes no. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Stearns.
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. With a count of 6 yes and 5 no, the motion carries. Is there a minority report, please?
Yes, the minority report would be ought to pass as amended, but the amendment would strike the language of the bill and replace it with a resolve that would require all the stakeholders that have been at the table thus far, doing the hard and good work that they've been doing, to be part of a work group that would be charged with the following. They would need to examine any criminal or constitutional conflicts that may occur in the present language that's in the majority report. They would need to somehow address and at least examine any due process concerns that might be included in the majority report. They would need to examine the majority report for any unintended consequences. They would have the opportunity, likely, possibly, to weigh in on any federal regulations that may be changing and coming forward that might affect the legislation. They would be required to submit their preliminary findings or any wording that they may come up with to the Judiciary Committee of the Maine Legislature for their review and comment. And they would need to in turn reply back to the Education Committee on any findings that the judiciary folks may have. They'd be required to look in and gain in some way feedback from other states as to what the process has been like, what the feedback is, to try to gain perhaps some knowledge and not replicate any mistakes or problems that other states have had. Leave it up to the work group to figure out how to best do that. They'd also need to examine the fiscal note, which we haven't seen yet coming forward, or weigh in their own manner on what the cost of this might be to various agencies. And lastly, be required to report back to the 131st Legislature, the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee, by February 1 of 2023. And at that point, the committee would have the opportunity to report out a bill.
Thank you. All right, Hillary.
Just quick clarification. Did you have anyone who you specifically wanted to convene the work group?
You know, I didn't.
Okay. So perhaps what I'll say, as I did with the majority report, and I also have a little concern about how exactly we're going to call what the majority report is, because of course that won't really exist. So as I said with the majority report, what I'll do is I'll draft it as best I can. And if there are outstanding technical questions or concerns, I'll bring this back at the same time as the majority report to get clarity on those two things. And perhaps at that point, you could let me know who you want to convene it.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions, folks? Eli, just to do so in front of, what time are we doing? Oh, that's 2 weeks. Just give us a quick rundown of next week. So while we're all here, in case there's any questions, I know we're in.
So currently next week, we are not currently scheduled to meet on Monday. You have House and Senate session on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we are anticipating the public hearing on the draft CDS language. I anticipate that would also be a day that we could do any language reviews, such as on LD 1727. I'll try to have something for you on both majority and minority reports by then, as well as any other outstanding issues. And then you have House and Senate on Thursday. And again, depending on when we want to work through CDS, that could potentially be Friday.
Thank you. All set, folks. I know it's been a long week. I appreciate all of our work and your efforts. And thank you so much for doing the work that we do. Hillary, do you have oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I do.
Okay.
Unrelated to anything else, this will be really quick. For those of you who are able to attend the AFA report back this morning, there was a question regarding the free community college for the Maine community college system and whether the intent was to include not only high school graduates, but also those with a high school equivalency. I sort of assumed that, yes, you meant to include both, and it was my quick drafting that didn't include both. But if the committee wants to confirm that for me, I can send an email reflecting that that's the opinion, that yes, your intent was to include those with GEDs in that language.
Is there anyone opposed to including the GED folks? Representative Millet?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we're going to be really specific about GED rather than saying a secondary
High school
certificate,
equivalency, maybe.
because there's also a commissioner's certification diploma as well. So just really want to make sure we're comprehensive. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've used high school equivalency as the term we've often used. So if everyone's comfortable with that, that's what I'll represent.
Thank you, Hillary. Representative Stearns?
I'm wondering if it wouldn't be simple language to just say high school diploma or equivalency as defined by a community college current practice, unless that's different campus-wide. Excuse me.
Could just say high school diploma or equivalent, and then presumably they could define it if they needed to.
I bet they already have that.
Yeah.
I bet, yeah.
Okay. Then I will pass that along in response to AFA's question.
All right, well, thanks for doing that as well, Hillary. Thank you all. Folks, have a good day. Oh, sorry. Yes, Representative Roach, didn't see that hand.
No, it's all right. It's late and I was not going to do it, but I can't live with myself not doing this. I'm disappointed in the process that we just went through. I think there's a point of order here. The bill as amended was not before us. We completely insulted a member of the public that was ready to testify by calling him out before he even had the opportunity to testify. I don't even know who the guy is. I just saw he put in the thing about due process. And I was interested to hear that. And I think we insulted him. Never met him in my life. Don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But I have to say, in my 1.5–3/4 years, today was a disappointing day for me because, to be perfectly honest, I was for this bill before we walked in this, and anybody in my caucus can tell you that. And I don't know. I just very disappointed. Sorry.
Thank you for your no comments. Anything else?